So I'm in La Paz, Mexico right now, which is one of my favorite towns in all of Mexico. From the very first time I came here, I instantly fell in love. I'm hanging out at the Malecon. It's really cold for La Paz. It's 68 degrees, but it feels a lot colder than that. It's kind of feeling like LA right now in winter. And it's really windy. As you can see, the water's really choppy. And this is totally out of the norm for this place because this is usually a hot and humid city, and it's located in the Tropic of Cancer. The wind's really kicking up, so hopefully you guys can hear me. And of course I forgot my mic adapter, even though I did bring my microphone. My mic adapter's back at the room. But we spent a little time in Cabo San Lucas to ring in the new year. We rang in 2020 in Cabo San Lucas, came down from Tijuana, and now we're spending a little bit of time in La Paz before we head on down to Mazatlan. I still haven't decided what we're gonna do, because you can take a ferry from here across the Mazatlan, and that's like a 24-hour ferry, so it takes a whole day to cross over the Sea of Cortez, aka the Gulf of California. I prefer to call it that. Or we can bus it all the way back down towards TJ, over to Mexicali and onward to the mainland. But of course that would take more than 24 hours. That'd be like 2 days of travel. It just depends on what we decide to do. I highly recommend to anybody that goes down to Cabo San Lucas, you also check out La Paz. La Paz has drastically changed in the 10 years I've been coming here. When we first got here, we were probably one of a handful of tourists that you'd see in the city. And it had an authenticity to it. It was a very Mexican town, very upscale and chic. And of course a lot of middle class and wealthy Mexicans would come here, but you didn't see a lot of Americans. Nowadays though, the word is out. You even have cruise ships stopping here now, and you'll have tons of Americans just swarming the whole town, a bunch of Europeans. Actually, the Europeans knew about La Paz before the Americans did, but now when you walk the street, the word is out. Like, La Paz has become an official tourist destination, and rightfully so, because from the very first time I came here and discovered the beaches outside of the town, like Tesoro, Balandra, Tecolote, Pichilingue, all those beaches rival some beaches I've seen in the Caribbean. And I used to tell people that and they wouldn't believe me, but then when I would show them pictures, they'd be like, wow, you know, where in the Caribbean is that? Or is that in the Yucatan Peninsula? No, it's right here in the Baja Peninsula. And so the word is out now. La Paz has a lot to offer. Isla Espiritu Santos is still one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. The beaches on there, like Playa Grande, are gorgeous. Like, stunning turquoise blue water, different shades of blue, azure waters. It can't be beat. Even though tourism's picking up, it's still pretty much untouched. It still remains one of my favorite places to visit, but you see more and more tourists with each passing year. Like the last time I was down here last year, you could totally tell that the word on tourism had really spread. And then a few years before that, when we started seeing the cruise ships, we were like, man, this place is changing, and it's changing quick. But it still offers a low-key feel compared to Cabo, which is what I like. We like to celebrate Christmas here and then go over to Cabo and ring in New Year, because Cabo's more of a party town. Even though if you know where to go, it still can be very low-key. And Cabo is still Mexico. But here, it's a more family-oriented place. People do party, people do have a good time. There are a lot of nightclubs, a lot of bars, but it's a different vibe. And you don't have a bunch of vendors. You do have vendors, but it's not like Cabo where there's the hard sell and you have a bunch of vendors constantly asking you to buy things. There's no timeshares, there's no touts, there's no people trying to sell you party favors, cocaine and ecstasy and all that shit. Like in Cabo, the drug dealing is out of control now. When I first started going there, I'm not saying there wasn't any drug dealing, but it was on the DL. You didn't really have a lot of people approach you. You didn't really see them. You had to be looking for it. Now though, you just walk on the marina or in front of Squid Row or pretty much anywhere, and you have a bunch of people approaching you. First they'll ask you if you want to buy some Cuban cigars or if you want to take a tour, but that's just the guise for them to offer you what they're really selling, which is blow, speed, whatever the fuck. And those guys are pretty hilarious, but it is kind of sad that that's the rep it's gonna get. And of course Americans are to blame for that, because somebody's buying that shit. And then I watch them, they're not asking any of the locals do they want party favors, they're asking all the Americans, all the Europeans, all the Canadians. Anyhow, La Paz remains one of my favorite towns. This time we're staying at a hotel called Hotel Hacienda San Jose, which we stayed at last time. And the rooms there are about $13 to $14 a night. Yeah, you heard that right. Yes, it's nothing glitzy and glamorous, but it does the trick. You get a bed, private bath, hot water, and it's centrally located. It's a few blocks from the Malecón. It's from the main bus station where you can get a bus to San Jose del Cabo or to Cabo San Lucas, or you can get a bus down to Mulegé or to Tijuana. And the hotel we're staying at is also near the original budget spot we used to stay at, which is Pension, California. So across the street there's Hotel Pension, California, which is a hostel here in La Paz, Baja California. It actually was one of the only hostels at one point. It used to be a old boarding school, and then they turned it into a hostel. It was a boarding school like way back in the day. Anyhow, and next to it you have Hermanos Gonzales, which makes some of the best fish tacos I've ever had anywhere. I'd rank them in my top 5. Flaky goodness. Now our original budget spot, Hotel Cena Real, that is, I don't think it's in business anymore. It was family run. You could kind of tell like it was on its way out because they weren't really maintaining it. You could tell like running a hotel was just an afterthought at that point. And so the last time we were here, we saw a for rent sign, like they were renting rooms now long term. So I don't even think it's a hotel anymore. And I haven't walked by there this time, but that used to be our go-to spot. That place used to be $12 or $13 a night. But Hacienda San Jose is pretty cool. It's clean, it's well maintained, it's secure, and like I said, it's close to everything. And there's a lot less of a party crowd than there is at Pension, California. So we like staying there instead. Even though Pension, I'd highly recommend it too. But if you're trying to save some pesos, I'd highly recommend it. One thing, if you do go to Cabo San Lucas, don't go to any of the strip clubs. They're a total fucking rip. Especially for Mexico, especially for Cabo. You would think Cabo would be totally like about it when it comes to the strip clubs. It's not like TJ though. You know, where TJ has brothels and their strip clubs are just off the fucking hook. Cabo is like overpriced. A bunch of fake plastic women, Barbie dolls, bitches that look like Nicki Minaj, fake asses, fake noses, fake fucking tits, fake everything. And then it's shady as fuck. Like I said, the drug dealing's off the hook. It's overpriced, the beers are overpriced, and you just get an overall bad experience, and I don't recommend it. Especially this spot called Bolero Showgirls. Me and my wife have a hell of a story about that place. Talk about shady as fuck. But anyway, in Cabo, the fucking strip clubs, you would think they would be on point because it's a party city. Like most of the clubs, you'll see crazy shit in Squid Row, in Happy Ending Bar, in Dick and Willie's, in the Giggling Marlin, Mango Beach Deck. You see bitches twerking, tits popping out, they'll get naked. I've seen some crazy shit in Cabo. But the strip clubs, the official ones, blow. Especially this one spot called Bolero Nightclub. My wife and I went there like a few hours before they closed, and it was shady as fuck. First of all, they hit us for like $10 just for 2 beers, which in Cabo is ridiculous. Normally you can get 2 beers and 2 shots for $5 to $7. So for 2 small ass beers, they hit us for $10. Now I know what most people are thinking. In the US, that's standard operating procedure. But in Mexico, if you go to the clubs, the strip clubs in TJ, the strip club in La Paz, the strip club in any of these towns, beer is cheap, $2.50, $3, $4 max. That should have been a signal the place was gonna suck. So they overcharge us for beer. not one single girl ever went on the stage. We saw a few girls kind of wandering around, going in and out of rooms with dudes. Obviously, most clubs, strip clubs in Mexico are brothels, and I'm assuming that this one was too, but I don't know. I think a lot of them guys are dropping money in there and they're not even getting fucked and sucked. I wouldn't fucking take the risk because of how we were treated just as club patrons. So anyway, we're chilling. Guy sells us some overpriced beer. It seems he made the price up off the top of his head. No girls ever came out to dance. And then suddenly, like, a weird vibe started in the club where people disappeared. And I don't know, I just didn't feel right. And this is the first time in Mexico I felt kind of uneasy, where I was like, I don't know about this. And so I then saw them lock the outer door, which was like a big metal door. And they were like starting to lock it from the outside and locking us in. And they didn't announce they were closing or anything. And I told my wife, like, let's get the fuck out of here. And, you know, dude seemed kind of peeved that we wanted to leave. But I don't know what the fuck was going to go down once that door locked. I didn't want to find out. But the strip club in La Paz, Amnesia's, is the shit. That's my type of club. It reminds me of Hong Kong Club, which is in Tijuana. It's a lot more low-key. The drinks are $2.50 each. That's a fucking steal. The girls don't sweat you. You don't even have to put down tips. It does seem more like a brothel, like I said, and you can go back and get a lap dance or whatever the fuck for $25. And the girls are pretty, they're natural, they're not all fake. And some of them do have more tattoos than I like for my taste, but there's no fake tits and fake ass and fake faces and all that like Adelita's in Tijuana. So anyhow, it's a pretty poppin' spot, and best of all, it's right around the corner from Hotel Hacienda San Jose. If you're gonna go to a strip club, do not waste your fucking time or money going to a strip club in Cabo San Lucas. That shit's shady as fuck. There's mad drug dealers and sketchy looking people. And I saw a lot of dubious characters when I'd pass by there going in. Very few customers. It just seems like a drug front. That's what I think it is. And again, I don't know what happens when you go upstairs with the girls or to one of the back rooms. I don't want to find out, especially when you have great clubs in Tijuana with great reputations that cut all the BS and don't overcharge you for drinks and cover charges and all that bullshit, and you don't have to throw down monies constantly to the girls. But there weren't even any girls dancing in this place, so it didn't matter. I'm twisted. I drank this big ass beer. Amnesia's in La Paz, I highly recommend. We had started off New Year last year, and a customer came in there. She's just a regular patron. She's fucked up out of her mind. Her and her boyfriend got up on stage, and this bitch took all her fucking clothes off. So we appreciated that. It was a great show. The strippers were loving it too. Bolero Showgirls was a ripoff. Plus, it actually scared me. It was the first time in Mexico I've been scared to where I was like, I don't know about this. It made me uneasy, and I thought some shit was gonna jump off. So I wouldn't recommend that place. A lot of Americans go in there. You know, I don't know if they get rolled or what, but I'm just glad me and my wife were able to make it out of there without anything happening to us. But I definitely don't recommend that spot, because it's shady as fuck. They overcharge you, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're robbing people up in there. Anyway, I just got a bad vibe about the whole place, and me and my wife got up out of there real quick. But it's a damn shame, Cabo, that La Paz is outdoing you when it comes to strip clubs. Que lástima. Sin vergüenza. Here we got our bomb crepes. We got a asada, bacon, and pepperoni crepe. I think they call it the carnivore. And then we got the chorizo and cheese. I had this one last time, or should I say my wife did. And it's at this place, La Crepas. But we've always thought this is one of the, gracias, that this is one of the dopest names, clever names on wordplay when it comes to a restaurant, because we're in La Paz, but it's Las Crepas. Get it? I see pretty much makes a good grace period. We took a long bus ride, and last time we ate was at 3 p.m. somewhere around there, so going on this. It's our last day here in La Paz, and I'm gonna miss it as I always do when we're leaving. But we've had a good time. I'll catch you later. Peace.